Riley Underwood, Adam Avin here with you on your pre-Super Bowl coverage with Newhouse, and we're joined by somebody you might know from Barstool Sports, does a lot of play-by-play in the college basketball world right now, also a Syracuse alum. Jake, thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. Great to see you taking on the next generation of Newhouse and holding the standards just as high as we were able to, probably even higher. You guys are killing it.
Oh,
Happy for you guys.
thanks. We appreciate it. And, the Super Bowl week. So we're interviewing a bunch of Syracuse alum and just kind of checking in on what all you guys are up to. And I know obviously you left Barstool a little over a year ago and you've been doing so much play by play since. You want to just, if people don't know, tell everybody what you've been up to, not only since you graduated, but especially in the past year.
Yeah, definitely. So after Newhouse, my first job out of school was with the University of Vermont men's basketball team. I was their play-by-play broadcaster for 2 years, and that's kind of become a Newhouse pipeline job right out of school. Right now, Brian McLaughlin, who is a Penn State guy, doing a great job. But me and prior to me, there was a bunch of Syracuse guys, um, and it was a great gig. And then I found myself with Part of My Take, the number one podcast on Barstool Sports. It was supposed to be just a summer internship for 2 months, and it turned into 5 years full time, doing all sorts of crazy things on the podcast. I became kind of their stats guy, nerdy guy, if you will. And then I wasn't expecting this, but a lot of play-by-play opportunities came up at Barstool, real play-by-play opportunities when the company started pursuing live broadcasting rights, got to call a couple of college football bowl games, some college basketball, hockey, lacrosse, golf. So it was a really special experience. But once Barstool kind of started going in a different direction and no longer hosted those games, I knew I always wanted to call games. So I sat down with Big Cat and PFT, who are, of course, the host of Part of My Take and great guys. And I feel like I owe them forever. But we both kind of came to the agreement that I should probably move on. It's best for my career. And I totally understood and agreed. So I made the jump back to full time play by play. And now I'm back living at home in South Florida. First time living at home since high school, which is great. I moved back a year and a half ago, and now I'm just freelancing and trying to get my foot in the door at as many places as possible. I was fortunate enough to break in with CBS and Fox this year on a freelance basis, so doing some of that, some ESPN Plus, and just trying to get as many reps as possible because that's what's most important.
So what's that like when you're a freelancer and you're working for all these different companies? How do you know maybe you don't get a gig for a week or two and then they're all calling at the same time? How's that kind of work with your schedule?
Definitely. The schedule is just like a giant puzzle, if that makes sense, because there's been stretches this college basketball season where I had 6 games in 10 days, and that was amazing. But there's also been, I think, the longest stretch I've had without a game this season, 17 days. And I'm just sitting at home, uh, just trying to keep my mind right and body right because I'm just hoping for a call to get another opportunity. So it's inconsistent, if I'm being honest, but it's the grind. And I know it's all going to pay off. And I know it's a very normal feeling to have. So I think I spoke with Adam Shine, another big time Newhouse alum, and we were talking about this about a month ago. And I said, my goal is just to have more games on the schedule this year than last year, because that means I'm going in the right direction. And that's been the case this year. So even though there might be some weeks uh, that I might not have a game, it's progress, and still have to remind myself, and great advice for you guys too that are going to get ready to get into this business. It's a grind, right? It's very difficult to make those big steps early in your career. You got to just trust your process and uh, focus on getting better each and every time. And I know it's cliche, but it's the truth.
Well, that's what we try and do every single time. And obviously, I think there has to be some sort of something pretty cool about having the freelance opportunities of like I get to cover all these different sports. But I know there was a part of last year where right after you left Barstool, you did a lot of golf. You did a lot of PJ Studio stuff actually for a long time. How did that kind of differ? Like having that real on air like studio hosting role for like the PGA Tour compared to like being the stats guy on PMT. Like what was that jump like for you?
Very different. But I will say my Newhouse background helped because I feel like I could be thrown into any type of environment or atmosphere and be ready for it. I could call a football game with Dave and Big Cat in the booth, and yelling about their bets that they're betting a lot of money on. But I could also call a PGA Tour with Craig Perks, who was my first partner, a former Players Champion, uh, just a few weeks after that. So I felt like the Barstool experience really helped with my broadcasting and especially my personality, right? Because people always say you got to stick out. I feel like it helped me stick out from a personality perspective. But the golf relationship started from the Barstool thing because at Barstool, myself, the Foreplay Pod, and a few other guys, we broadcasted a Corn Ferry Tour event, which was really cool. And it was the production side was from PGA Tour studios. So that's how I built that relationship and converted it into some professional events as well, which is great.
And then with Barstool, you kind of hear some of these funny interview stories. You hear Glenny's interview story with Dave Portnoy and everybody. Did you have a specific interview story? I know you turned from intern to kind of a full-time guy. So what was that like?
Yeah, definitely. It was, I think, middle of May 2019. Uh, and again, this was a year after I graduated. I graduated 2018. So I was listening to the podcast and I heard they were looking for an intern. This was in between my seasons at Vermont. So I didn't really have much going on that summer. And I thought, you know what? Internships are usually for college kids, but this is literally a once in a lifetime opportunity. Why not? I throw my name out there, send an email to Hank, the producer at the time, still with the show, just on air.
Yeah.
And they asked me to come in for an interview. And I flew up to New York. The only time I ever lied to those guys in my 5 years there was when they asked if I was local. Because I knew if I said no, I probably wouldn't get taken as seriously. I was staying with some family at the time, and I figured if I got the job, I'd just figure everything out else afterwards. So I had to sign a waiver for the interview, and I actually have the full interview. I can send it to you guys after this, but it's on camera because that's how Barstool operates, right? The camera's rolling all the time. And they actually, Big Cat was looking up my resume on his phone live, and WAR got brought up, and he and PFT had me do a mock call as if I was calling a Syracuse football game, and Donovan McNabb was the quarterback, and he was puking live on the field. So very wild, very strange. But again, to my point earlier, it forced me and taught me to stay on my toes and feel ready for any type of environment or anything thrown my way, whether it's a power outage. I once called a PLL game and the power went out at the arena or at the stadium right as the game was going on the air. Again, has nothing to do with interviewing with Big Con and PFT, but it just overall, it really helps with the comfort. And I'm sure you guys can relate to this calling games too. Sometimes you kind of just black out, right? And everything, and time goes by so quick. You spend all this time prepping and doing research and all these interviews, and then the game just goes by like that. But as the reps come more often, you feel more comfortable in any type of atmosphere.
Right. Well, obviously, you cherish your time at Barstool and what you're doing now. Before, we're going covering the Super Bowl this week, and that's obviously a crazy event, but you've gotten to cover some really cool games over the past year. Is there a specific game you called, a moment that stands out where you were like, this is why I want to do this? Like this game was this moment was so crazy that I'm never gonna witness something like this again. This is why I love doing this.
Yeah, I think the whole storyline behind that first Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl was really special. So it was in December of 2022, but we were supposed to start December of 2021, had the matchup, Boise State, Central Michigan, had the coaches' interviews in the bag, had my flight booked, and then the game gets canceled 3 days prior for COVID. It was when COVID came back for a little bit. Yeah. I was just devastated because I didn't think I'd be doing the game at first. And then when I got the nod that I'd be doing the game, I was very excited. So it was just a giant roller coaster. And then to be given that opportunity and then it just stripped away due to COVID was a huge bummer. So then to wait a whole other year, 365 days later, and get a game that went to overtime, was a walk-off touchdown for Ohio, just made it a full circle kind of complete moment. And I'll never forget this. Right after we went off the air, Dave Portnoy told me, "Great job, Jake," and that felt really good because if you know Dave, he speaks his mind. He's honest, and he's been on the record saying he's not really an attaboy guy and patting people on the back. But to get one from him, that was very validating because I knew I did a good job, but just hearing it from someone like him who's very vocal with his opinions felt really good. And it was just a tremendous broadcast. Everyone behind the scenes did a great job. So that was a lot of fun and I'll never forget it.
Jake, we were doing some shameless LinkedIn stalking of your profile before our interview here. We stumbled across a picture of you and Drew Carter calling a Syracuse tennis match. So tell us a little bit about your time at Syracuse. I mean, working with all these now successful broadcasters, and even in the non-broadcast world, what were some of your favorite experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. Syracuse was fantastic. As I mentioned earlier, graduated in 2018. So Drew Carter, Noah Eagle, Tyler Rocky, that whole crew was a year younger than me. So they're obviously a loaded class and some of my best friends from my time at Syracuse. And some of us actually did a golf trip. James Colgan, who's doing great things with golf.com, and Connor Federico, who we called Fred. All those guys lived together. So it was so much fun. And yeah, Drew and I called a tennis match for ACC Network Extra. Shout out Matt Park and Olivia Stomsky, of course, still running the show over there. And that was really cool experience for us to get to do that type of stuff, especially with those sports that aren't as mainstream. Everyone wants to do the football, basketball, and at Syracuse lacrosse, but doing the soccers, the volleyballs, the field hockeys of the world was just as valuable in my eyes as doing those other sports. But it was cool because Drew and I were actually paired together on the PLL All-Star game a couple of years ago, and we did a before and after picture of that Syracuse tennis match and then the PLL All-Star game on the main ESPN channel. Drew was doing play-by-play. I was a sideline reporter, so that was just very special as well. And that's why you go to Newhouse, right? Is because you know you're going to be with the best of the best. And of course, it's competitive. Of course, it's a grind. Not everyone wants to wake up at 5 a.m. Freshman year and do those WAR sportscasts, but the top will rise and you become friends with them too. Because even though you're competing with some of these guys, it's not like you're playing a game against them. You're not facing off against them. You're just focusing on yourself and you're still friends. You both people can be successful. It's not like the Super Bowl where one team's going to win and one team's going to lose, right? Noah's killing it on NBC, Drew's killing it on ESPN and the Celtics, and they're very happy for each other. And they're happy for me too, for my success. And we all kind of lift each other up. And I know there's so many more people that I haven't named of my time at Syracuse, but it's really cool that we've been able to have that friendship at school and keep it going. Now I'm already 8 years out.
Yeah. I hope they'd be happy for you. It'd be kind of rude if they weren't. Everybody wasn't curious.
I have it on the record. I can pull up the text.
Well, you brought up the Super Bowl, and you know, since that's the reason why we're doing all these interviews, I think we can get to that. Obviously, you're Syracuse alum Mike Tirico's calling the game, so we all have that connection there. But just as a fan, you excited for this game? What do you expect to see from these two teams?
Absolutely. Noah doing the pregame as well for NBC. So shout out Noah. But yeah, obviously this is the biggest storyline is the rematch, right? Malcolm Butler. I was actually a freshman at Syracuse watching my dorm at Flint. Shout out the Mount. That's where I was freshman year. And we all thought the Seahawks were just going to run it in. Marshawn Lynch and Malcolm Butler comes to save the day. Were you guys, what, in middle school at the time?
No, probably middle school. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. It was 2015, February 2015. Yeah. So it's crazy. It's already been 11 years since then, but that was my first kind of big game memory from Syracuse in terms of watching. And this year, it's obviously two totally different regimes. With the Patriots, it's unbelievable. I mean, Adam, you and I are both South Florida guys, so Dolphins. So we've seen it.
You think our Dolphins will ever make the Super Bowl? You think they'll ever win a playoff game, Jake?
Probably not.
Don't get us
But
started on that. Don't.
I've become more of a red zone fan over the years than a Dolphin
Yeah. Oh,
fan.
one
That's more
thousand percent.
entertaining.
The Syracuse alum Scott Hansen. I'd
Hansen.
rather watch him talk about all the teams than watch one.
Exactly. If I have one TV, I'm putting on red zone instead of the
One
Dolphins.
thousand percent. Totally.
So, but yeah, it's
This guy's a Chiefs fan. He doesn't understand
oh,
us.
you're spoiled too.
I know.
Yeah. So it's gonna be really interesting with Drake May. Great story. Mike Vrabel, obviously part of that first Brady dynasty, coming over and in his first season, just taking this team to the Super Bowl. Same with Mike McDonald, right? A guy who hadn't really had head coaching experience prior to going to Seattle, and they've just been dominant. The turnaround of Sam Darnold, that's something we can celebrate, Adam. It's just funny because Jets fans just can't get it right.
That's the positive, yeah.
Yeah. So the Jets fans have to deal with Sam Darnold against the Patriots, which is just a bigger screw you to the Jets. So I love the storylines in this one. It seems like everybody is taking Seattle. So I'm just going to take New England because when does the obvious thing just happen like that? Where I think I saw ESPN had 11 people already make their prediction, and all of them took Seattle, and I think all of them took them giving the 4.5. But that's just what the Patriots do. This is exactly what Patriots fans like. They like being counted out, and they like being proving people wrong. So I'm really excited. Anything could happen. And I can't wait. I'm jealous of you guys being there this week.
It should be a lot of fun. Well, Jake, we appreciate you for taking the time with us, and we're always happy to catch up with our Syracuse alums who are doing such great things in the industry. So thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Have a blast this week out in San Francisco, and I'm sure you're going to be talking to a lot of very cool people. Just take in the moment, and it's a very cool opportunity, and you guys are crushing it, and you should be proud of what you're doing, and hope to cross paths again soon.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jake.
Thank you.